Hey guys, welcome back for another After Effects tutorial. This time we're talking about puppet pins and how to animate actual characters and stuff like that into a little scene. So a couple things that you're going to need is you're going to need one of these backgrounds. So if you click on the link in Canvas, you'll be able to choose a background. I'm going to go ahead and choose this market one. And you're going to need at least 3 characters from this link on Google Drive. And so I'm going to go ahead and download the crab, maybe the turtle here, and how about the rabbit? Awesome. We'll come back and talk about this music stuff in a little while. But if it's not open already, go ahead and open up After Effects, and you're met with this window. And we're just going to create a new project. And remember to create a new composition. And I'm going to call this Puppet Pin 1. We can increase the time here. I'm going to increase it to 15 seconds and leave everything else the same. Hit OK, and I'm ready to go. To import those assets, just hit Command-I on a Mac or Control-I on a PC. And I got my crab, got my background, my rabbit, and my turtle. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my background onto my composition. And so I'm just going to drag that on. Now with a lot of these backgrounds, they're actually a lot wider than the composition is because we're going to animate this like they're moving. And so that's why everything's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start down this way, and I'm going to bring on, let's just bring on the crab. So the crab here is my main character, and so what I'm going to essentially do is he is going to walk across the background here. And in order to do that, we want to animate the legs and the arms of the character to make it look like they're actually walking. And to do that, we're going to use puppet pins. So the puppet pin tool is up in the toolbar on the far right side. It looks kind of like a thumbtack. And let me zoom in here. What the puppet pin actually does is it creates, I guess you could call them like joints. And so I'm going to just click, and it creates these joints essentially for the legs. And I want to do that to each leg. So there I got the legs, and then I can also do it to the arms because these are the points that we're actually going to animate. So the fastest and easiest way, and honestly it's not maybe the most effective way, but again, it is the fastest. And all I have to do is on a Mac, I hold down Command. On a PC, I hold down Control. And you'll notice that the mouse turns from that plus sign arrow thing to the stopwatch. So what this is going to allow me to do is animate this particular point over time. And as I click on this, you're going to notice the playhead start moving. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click, and I'm just going to start moving this back and forth, and you'll notice that playhead moving. And I'm just going to go to about the 10-second mark. Great. So now it has all these different plot points of where that leg is moving. You can see how it animates there. So I'm just going to do that with each leg. All right, so now that I have all my plots, so now that I have all of my points animated, okay, now it's time to make him look like he's actually walking. Nice. So in order to make it look like he's walking across, because what I'm going to have him do is walk kind of across here, and meet up with another character, all I need to do is animate the position. And if you've already done the flyby titles, then you should know how to do this already. But on this crab, I'm going to hit P on my keyboard, brings up the position property. I'm going to click the stopwatch to set the first position keyframe. And then I'm going to go to my 10-second mark. And I'm just going to click and drag my character maybe about in the middle of the screen. But I also want the background to move because, we're trying to follow the character here. So now I'm going to click on my background. Again, bring up the position properties with the P on the keyboard. I'm going to set my first position keyframe. I'm going to go to that 10-second mark, and I'm just going to drag my background to where I want it to be. So now it looks like the character is actually kind of walking across this scene, and the camera is following them as they are doing so. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another character. So let's add the turtle. So they're meeting out in front of the used bookstore, so the turtle will just be standing there. But see how if I move the playhead that the turtle moves as well? We can actually parent the turtle to the background so that the turtle stays in this position with the background, and it's easy to do. So all you're going to do is take this pick whip, this swirly line on the turtle, click and drag it to your background, and now they're tied together. So as I move this, see how the turtle stays there? Even as I go off screen. Now I'm just going to animate one other character, and that's the rabbit. The rabbit's just going to kind of be another little character in the background here. I'm going to put that turtle or the rabbit there. Going to add my puppet pins. All right, so my rabbit is animated. But what I want them to do is come from off the screen and go across the background behind the crab. So I'm going to position the rabbit so they're off the screen. Again, pull up my position properties. Click the stopwatch to set the first position keyframe. And I want them to come maybe about this point. Move my playhead to about here. And then the rabbit will have gone completely across the screen. Oh, so you'll notice that the rabbit goes in front of the crab. So that's just as simple as easy. So that's just as easy as. So that's a simple fix. All I have to do is drag the rabbit behind the crab on the layers palette. So now the rabbit goes behind the crab. So it looks like the crab keeps walking for just a minute after the background stops moving. So what I'm going to do is just take this keyframe from the background and change it so stop moving when the crab stops moving as well. Once I have all of my characters and backgrounds animated and positioned the way that I want them, there's just a couple more things that we need to do before we actually export this. So the first thing that we're going to do is, the next thing we're going to do is pre-compose this composition, which essentially means we're going to take all 4 of these layers and kind of smash them into one layer. So I can select them, go up to layer, and all the way down at the bottom it says pre-compose. And we're just going to call this maybe characters, whatever you'd like, doesn't really matter. And you notice that now they're all one layer. If I was to double click that, it actually opens up so I can edit those 4 layers if I wanted to. The next thing we're going to do is add some music. So if you go to the Canvas assignment page, there's a link to a bunch of resources where you can download free music. So I've already downloaded something from Incompetech. It was the first one, and it's free. So sound good to me. So to import it, I'm going to hit Command I. And I'm simply just going to drag it to my composition. And there it is. But there's a couple things that I need to do. Because right now it'll just get to the end of the composition and then end. But I want to kind of fade it out a little bit. So to do that, I'm going to move my playhead to the very end. I'm going to press Shift Command D on the keyboard, and that splits the clip right where that playhead is. And I'm just going to delete that top one because I don't need it. And now I'm going to animate with keyframes the audio levels. And so I'm just going to go back here to maybe this 12-second mark. Click the stopwatch to enable keyframes, move forward, and then I'm going to drop this to about, let's say, -50. You don't want to go all the way to infinity because what that's going to do is make it fade out really fast. And we don't necessarily want that. So 50 seems pretty good. We'll listen to it and see if we need to change that. Yeah, so that's not too bad. I'm okay with that. All right. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to fade out the video. So, and this is where it's nice to actually pre-compose and have all of this done in one layer. Otherwise, I'd have to go and do this to each individual layer, and that's kind of a pain. So I'm going to bring up the opacity for this particular layer. So T on the keyboard. And I'm just going to go to that 12-second mark, and I'm going to enable keyframes. So set that first opacity keyframe, then go to the end and drop it to 0. So now as the music fades out, it should be fading out the video as well. Okay, there it is. All right, to export, again, I'm going to go to Composition. I'm going to go to Add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue. Once it pulls up there, it should bring on the same settings that you had on your last export, and I'm okay with H.264 and YouTube 1080p Full HD. If you need to change those, just click on one, and then it brings up the export window, and you can change that. The only thing that I need to do from here is change my output file, and this is where is it being saved to, and what is it called. I'm just going to call it Puppet Pin, save it to my desktop, and then hit play. So there you have it. Once that's all done, you can go ahead and upload it to Canvas and turn it in. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and have fun animating with the Puppet Pin tool.